I happen to be a father of two young boys, a boy of 9 and a boy of 7. And I was actually struggling with, parenting the modern age where children are much more communicative, much more aware. I think the big takeaway for me in communicating with them is transparency, is just being honest and just getting, as we talk about, getting flat in the work. And that actually worked universally for me, by the way, not just with my children, but with my wife. The idea of withholding, there's no possibility that comes from, there's no power in withholding. And that was a really big lesson for me. A really big takeaway for the work was just the consciousness around that, feeling powerful enough to basically break down those barriers that were kind of equipping me to withhold and not being willing to get flat. And in doing so, with both my wife and with my children, just a huge shift, actually a quantum shift in communication and opening up possibilities. My children, their feeling towards me, my feelings towards them, the intimacy that generated both with the children and my wife were just marvelous results. From that work, in fact, and it was a huge takeaway for me from the program. There's no question in life that people are going to get you on tilt. Life is going to get you on tilt. We find ourselves spending a lot of time in that space where just the speed of life, our lack of focus on breathing and the stresses associated with our daily lives was clearly something that, I wasn't terribly aware of, although I was living it and experiencing it. And the tools around centering, just the simple act of breathing and being conscious about breathing was really useful because, certainly one of the things that I would find myself doing is not breathing very well and not even being conscious about breathing. So in stressful communications with, again, back to the family, with children, with my wife, or with coworkers, on the phone, whatever it might have been, just the simple pausing of just taking a few deep breaths and just getting centered and be thoughtful about that whole process and then being able to kind of move into a more powerful space where I wasn't controlled or I wasn't controlled by that stressful experience or the stressful moment, but I was much more free to basically communicate and listen. The act of listening, that's another piece of another great piece of the work, is active listening, and all of that put together, the transparency, the centering, the listening, just makes moving through the world so much easier, and to do it with grace. I mean, that's really, for me, kind of a big takeaway.